What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, and this is part 13 of my deep dive into the Moody Blues studio catalog. Um, I never listened to a full album before with attentive ears. As I explained many times, heard an album in the 80s, the one I just did, The Other Side of Life. That was what it called. A friend of mine bought it in high school. We went to his place to play like in Television or Atari or something. He played it. Um, I remember not liking it. I never went out and bought it or followed them down any sort of rabbit hole. So that was my experience. And I know for a fact I've heard Days of Future Past at like a college party at some point, just because the Moody Blues were popular among my indulgent hippie friends. But I never went down that rabbit hole. I decided to do that. This is album number 13, Sur la Mer, came out in 1988, their 13th. And yeah, this might be kind of a short video because, as my dad always said, and I'm sure many parents of many people have said, if you have nothing nice to say about somebody, maybe don't say anything at all. It's 80s. Like, it is so just dated and hampered and bogged down and just made unpalatable by the electronic sounds, by the drum machines, by the synth sounds, by just, it's a dated sounding album. It's synth pop, but it's not very edgy. It's pretty safe. When it gets upbeat, that's when it gets more awkward because they have just these awesome sort of like bad drum breaks in there. And it's just, there are some bright spots. There are 3 songs that I think provide like a glimmer of hope. And I do think maybe if some of these songs were performed in the 70s and we had like all analog instruments and we had like a more, your pure symphonic Moody Blues sound, I think some of these songs could have been saved. But then there's a couple songs on here where I think just the choruses are just so anemic and almost just like not good. So this was a rough listen for me. I did know another song. I knew the title track. I Know You're Out There Somewhere. Thought I only knew 3 songs. Turns out I've known a lot more Moody's than I thought. And I knew this was a Moody Blues song. But when this came out, I was in high school, about to go to college. This was there's no way I was going down this rabbit hole at this point in my life. The opening track, I Know You're Out There Somewhere, kind of palatable 80s synth pop. The middle section where they kind of maybe stretch it out a little. It's like 6.5 minutes for some crazy reason, the song. I'm sure there was a single edit. There had to have been a single edit. There's no way they're playing a 6.5 minute song on the radio. There's like a little middle section where it kind of gets slightly proggy. Mraz is on keyboards, the guy from Yes from the 70s. Kind of provides a little interesting vibe in the middle part. I don't know if it's enough to save the song for me. Apparently this was a sequel to Your Wildest Dreams, which I think is awesome that songs have sequels. Like the lyrical theme is sort of like somebody I once loved or somebody I've not met but have always loved is out there somewhere, and maybe one day I will meet them. Something like that. The other 2 highlights is the opening song on side 2, Vintage Wine, kind of like remembering the 60s. The Vintage Wine happens to be, I think, from like 63 to 69. I think dates are actually mentioned, but it's, it's the Summer of Love era leading up to it and the post-Summer Love, that era. Kind of an okay song. I kind of like the vibe. And then the closing track, Deep, seems to be going for one of those moody, atmospheric, kind of drum heavy, but not fast, just like a plodding, deep drum sound. Sort of one of those like Miami Vice playing in the background of a scene soundtrack type things. Nice ending guitar solo, a middle section that kind of stretches out and gets a little proggy. Mraz has some cool synth sounds in there. So out of the 10 songs, number 1, number 6, and number 10 I think are the highlights. But they're not that high highlights. I'm not sure I'd put any of these on like a Moody Blues playlist. Yeah, none of it really grabbed me. Second song, Want to Be With You, is just kind of a little ballady synth pop. I think there's some bad fake horn sounds in there that kind of don't work. Kind of a plodding tempo that just drags the song. River of Endless Love, it's kind of their attempt to rock out a little, and it's It's not that good. It's a nice sax solo that is like a kind of a breath of fresh air. And I'm not generally a big sax song and fan in pop songs, but kind of provides some neat little contrast to the electronic vibe. I like the lyrics, sort of this positive, optimistic outlook on, maybe there's hope for humanity. I like that. No More Lies. Do not like the chorus. Not at all. I think they rhyme alibis with like let's not tell each other no more lies or something. Did not like the chorus. Here Comes the Weekend. Music has this sort of momentum, like, hey, here it comes. Let's go. We're going. Let's go. The weekend's coming. Jump on. It's a party bus. There's an acoustic guitar in there that, again, it's a fresh sounding analog instrument. But then the drums just sound horrible. And what did I put? Oh, the vibe is sort of reminiscent of like some of their 70s stuff. And I think, again, if they were all like non electronic beats and real instruments and they weren't using synths, I think this could have opened up like a 70s album and not been a bad song. But the production just completely ruins it. And the lyrics are kind of cheesy. Vintage White is next, which I kind of like. Breaking Point, kind of a ballady thing. There's like a mid-tempo drop about 2 minutes in. It's kind of cheesy, doesn't work. Miracle, maybe it's because of the title, but this reminded me of Mike and the Mechanics, and not in a good way. Not Silent Running, which I haven't listened to in decades, but I always thought was good. But didn't Mike and the Mechanics have like a Miracle song? For some reason, this song, Miracle, reminds me of Mike and the Mechanics. Love is on the Run. Do not like the chorus for this. Love is on the run. Love is on the run. Love is on the run from me. Just, I could do without that chorus. Just seems like they didn't even mail that in. They sent that in on like I don't know what. It was just, it's not there. Just bland mid-tempo synth pop. And then the Closing Deep. There's hope for the Closing Deep. I thought there were moments in there that were kind of good. Mraz sounds good. The closing guitar solo is good. Kind of fascinating. But yeah, I don't see myself ever listening to this album again. Just did not really grab me. Kind of a slog to listen to. One thing I was thinking about is just my sort of obsession with how the 80s undermined so many bands just because of the sound. And what were we all thinking back then to think that this is good music? This is what good music sounds like. I don't understand. And I was thinking about Reagan was president, right? Very few bands seem to like do well in the 80s. Like you have Iron Maiden, a complete exception to that rule, who were maybe politically anti Ronald Reagan. And so I was just looking at like presidents, like which president has the best track record of music in their term here in the United States? LBJ, like 63 through like 69, early 68, early 69. Pretty fantastic. He's up there. Then you have Nixon, who's like 69 through like 74. I'm like, how is Richard Nixon? Like, what was he doing that inspired so much fantastic music across the world and in the States? So I don't know. There's some fascinating discussion in there about presidents matching up with music, I think. I don't know what that is yet. Don't know what my angle is yet. I do know I run the Poetry Slam here in San Antonio. I've been running it since Clinton was president, sadly, long time. Our best years were the Bush years because most slam poets tend to be liberal and they want to speak out against things, right? And so it provided a lot of fuel for their fires. We struggled during the Obama years here in the States because not a lot of people would attack Obama, and those that did attack Obama generally didn't score well. Poetry kind of shifted to this weird, different place. But then when Trump came back in, we're like, all right, we're firing on all cylinders again. So I noticed that in just like the spoken word world. So I'm interested. One day I'm going to break down the music world just because why not? But anyways, that's all I got. Oh, where would I rank this? It's the bottom of the list. I won't listen to this again. I do think the one before At the Other Side of Life is a little bit better. It had that one song, I think the title track, which was actually pretty cool, which is like another slow burning type song. That was a good song. Better than I think anything on this one. But yeah. Yeah, that's all I got. Yeah, this was a struggle, this one. Two more. I think there's two more after this, maybe three more after this. And we'll see. We'll see how those go. So not too optimistic, but we'll get to those soon. Subscribe, like, share, comment. Thank you very much for watching. And go listen to the 70s, Moody Blues. And that one that they did that was a couple years ago, which was really good. Long Distance Voyager. Oh, yeah, you saw it on the list. All right, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Peace. Talk to you later.